I have a question for you. Have you ever driven through a perfectly average neighborhood, past an ordinary-looking house with a slightly rusted mailbox, and wondered if the owner might actually be a secret millionaire? It might sound far-fetched, but that's the premise behind Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko's The Millionaire Next Door. Their research reveals that true wealth can hide in the most unexpected places, like behind a small porch and a humble front yard. Today, we're going to embark on a wild adventure through these surprising lessons. I'm not talking about a dry financial lecture. Think of this like an expedition, where each tip is a hidden clue you and I will use to unlock treasure we never even knew existed. Ready to go? Picture yourself standing on the edge of a dense jungle, compass in hand. That compass? It's the millionaire next door. You look up at the towering trees, your debts, your daily bills, your nagging expenses, and you're wondering if you'll ever see the golden city that is financial security. But guess what? The path has already been marked by those everyday millionaires who discovered that the real magic isn't about lavish incomes or risky gambles. It's about taking simple, consistent actions that transform your money into freedom. Our mission is to follow in their footsteps, learn from their hard-earned wisdom, and claim a treasure chest of lasting wealth. Now, before we hack our way through the underbrush, let's pause and look inward. Have you ever felt that sinking feeling at the end of the month, seeing how quickly your paycheck vanished? I know I have. You might earn decent money, or maybe not as much as you'd like, but something keeps you from hanging on to a healthy stash of it. Meanwhile, some people right next to you, colleagues, neighbors, seem to have an unbreakable safety net. They're never rattled by emergency expenses, unexpected repairs, or short-notice travel. This can feel like an endless cycle of frustration, even shame, especially if you think, why can't I manage my finances as well as they do? Here's the real kicker. Many of those people don't necessarily earn huge salaries. They're simply cautious about how they live and what they buy. They choose modest cars, modest homes, and modest lifestyles that align with a greater goal: building genuine wealth. It might feel like a shock to see someone who appears to be just an average Jane or Joe actually sitting on a comfortable investment portfolio. But from my own experience, those anxious nights spent wondering how I'd get ahead, the moment I realized that controlling spending and steadily saving are what separate the wealthy from the rest, something switched in me. Instead of chasing pay raises, I started chasing a sturdy net worth. How's that for a plot twist? Let's dig a little deeper. Think of your money management like a daring high-wire act crossing above snapping crocodiles. If you slip and have no backup, your heart will be in your throat the whole time. But if you've woven a strong financial net, a buffer of savings, low liabilities, sensible investments, you'll walk with more confidence. You might still wobble now and then, but you won't have that terror of complete ruin. That's what many quiet millionaires have. A thick, protective net built from everyday decisions that might look small on the surface, like trimming unnecessary expenses or consistently saving a slice of each paycheck. I used to dread the word budget. It conjured images of self-denial and constant sacrifice. But then I started noticing patterns among financially comfortable people. They talk about money, sure, but they also know exactly where their dollars go. Far from limiting them, budgets empower them to spend on what truly matters, while discarding the fluff. And let me tell you, the sense of relief you get from knowing your finances inside out is exhilarating. It's like stepping into a control room, where each button is labeled with precision. No more confusion. No more last-second scrambles. Does that mean you have to spend your days holed up at home, tracking every dime in a spreadsheet until your eyes cross? Not necessarily. But think back to our jungle analogy. If you were exploring uncharted territory, would you march in blindly, ignoring your compass and basic navigation tools? Probably not, unless you want to get lost for days. Budgeting is your map. Even a simple, quick check-in each week, verifying transactions, setting short-term savings goals, can steer you clear of pitfalls. Now, one essential shift: focusing on net worth rather than income alone. The difference is subtle but profound. Your income might fluctuate, or you could even score a big promotion. But if you inflate your lifestyle each time you earn more, you end up running in place. Meanwhile, a colleague or neighbor quietly maintains a moderate lifestyle, channeling any extra earnings into investments or savings. Their actual wealth increases, even if their outward appearance stays modest. Think about how freeing it would be to let go of the notion that you have to prove your success by flaunting it. How much stress could you and I shed if we didn't try to keep up with everyone else's spending? This leads us to a simple truth that might feel counterintuitive. Embracing moderate, practical choices can become a superpower. I'm not suggesting you live like a hermit or deprive yourself of joys. The real question is, are you spending in alignment with your deepest values and long-term objectives? Or are you throwing cash at things you barely remember a month later? The Millionaire Next Door shows that even individuals who earn an average salary can accumulate substantial wealth by making thoughtful decisions every day. It's not about having a joyless life. It's about being intentional. Imagine if, with one small shift in mindset, you discovered that your seemingly mundane day-to-day choices could set you on a trajectory to financial independence. Doesn't that get your heart pumping? Let's talk about something else these millionaires prioritize: time for planning and reflecting on finances. I've heard friends say, "I hate dealing with money. It's too stressful." But that's exactly why you want to confront it. It's like exploring a dark cave. The longer you stand at the entrance fearing what lurks inside, the more anxiety builds. But when you venture in with a flashlight, you might realize there's nothing to fear, and maybe even find hidden gems. By spending a little time each week analyzing expenses, learning about investment vehicles, or reviewing tax strategies, you take control. You're no longer in the dark, and you actually cut down on the stress. This is a key secret the neighbor millionaires understand well. Now, let's paint an emotional picture to anchor this. Imagine waking up on a crisp Saturday morning, sunlight streaming through the curtains. You pour a cup of coffee or tea, whatever your ritual, and sit down to review your progress. Just 30 minutes of checking your balance, allocating funds into your investment account, or reevaluating an upcoming purchase. That small act fills you with a sense of calm and mastery. You might spot a recurring fee you forgot about and cancel it, instantly freeing up extra cash. Or you realize that you have enough surplus this month to push a little more toward your investments. Over time, this becomes your routine, your comfort zone. Before you know it, you feel like a seasoned explorer who no longer fears the unknown corners of the map. But how do we sustain motivation? It's so easy to start with a bang and lose steam after a couple of months, like an overenthusiastic hiker who tires out in the first mile. That's where our game element comes in. Let's imagine you have a personal scorecard. Each month, you aim for points in different categories: savings rate, debt reduction, and strategic investments. You set mini milestones for yourself. Earn 10 points for clearing a certain credit card balance, 5 points for cooking at home instead of ordering takeout, 15 points for transferring a set amount into an index fund. When you hit a milestone total, reward yourself with something meaningful and budgeted. This gamified approach transforms potential drudgery into an adventure. Every step forward feels like unlocking another level in your favorite video game. But the real advantage? You're building a stronger foundation each time you earn those points. When unexpected car repairs or a sudden family emergency pop up, you're equipped to handle them without going into a panic. Remember that net we talked about earlier? Now it's even stronger. And it didn't require you to become a finance wizard overnight. It just took consistent, deliberate effort, a skill any of us can learn. How about you? Can you picture yourself turning these mundane financial tasks into a fun, self-imposed challenge? Here's another angle. If you ever wonder what drives these often understated millionaires to keep going, it's partly about the stability they can provide for their families and the legacy of financial education they pass on. Whether or not you have children, consider how your actions influence the people around you. When your circle sees you manage money calmly, they might pick up a tip or two. Or, if you do have kids, they'll absorb these lessons from a young age, understanding the real value of money rather than chasing brand names or fleeting status symbols. This isn't just about making yourself richer. It's about fostering a culture of mindfulness and resourcefulness that can span generations. Now, let's address one of the less glamorous aspects, but a massive piece of the puzzle: taxes. For many of us, even mentioning taxes can cause immediate burnout. But the millionaires next door tend to embrace this chore. They search for legitimate deductions and tax-advantaged accounts that protect more of their money, turning what could feel like a black hole into a strategic advantage. It's like discovering a secret tunnel in our jungle quest, one that bypasses quicksand and leads directly to safer ground. If you get into the habit of exploring legal tax strategies, maybe consulting a professional, or just dedicating some time to self-education, you might realize you can save thousands. That money, in turn, becomes an excellent tool for amplifying your investments. And let's not forget about debt. You don't usually find everyday millionaires juggling credit card balances for non-essentials. They might leverage loans for investments that can yield returns, like a carefully selected piece of property. But they're typically wary of borrowing for consumption, knowing that compound interest can be your best friend or your worst enemy. One question I asked myself that changed everything was, if I borrow money for this item, will it appreciate in value or generate some sort of return? If the answer was no, it served as a red flag. Imagine the clarity and peace of mind that comes from finally snipping those threads, tying you to pointless interest payments. At this point, you might be thinking, all right, I get it. Save diligently, control expenses, track everything, and focus on building true net worth. But where's the excitement? Fair question. Let me put it this way. The thrill might not come from buying the latest smartphone or splurging on a first-class flight. The real rush comes when you realize you've gained the freedom to say no at work if the environment is toxic, or to pivot careers if something more fulfilling beckons. It's that moment you wake up and know you have options, real ones. That's a deeper, more exhilarating buzz than the fleeting high of retail therapy. It's like emerging from the thickest part of the jungle and spotting, off in the distance, the glimmering towers of that city of gold you set out to find. I once met a man, I'll call him James, who personified these principles. He drove a beat-up car, wore simple clothes, and seemed unremarkable in every outward sense. But over the years, he had methodically accumulated a solid portfolio of diversified investments and real estate. He never bragged, never boasted. His time went into connecting with family, volunteering in his community, and learning more about new investment opportunities at a leisurely, unhurried pace. When he finally retired, a good decade earlier than his peers, everyone was stunned to learn how financially secure he was. The best part? He was relaxed and humble the entire time. His car might have looked weather-worn, but inside, his mind was at peace, because he knew he had the ultimate safety net. Seeing that calm confidence, I realized that wealth truly is the ability to live life on your own terms, free from the chains of reckless consumption or debt. Is that something you're longing for too? Are you craving that sense of control, that sense of security? Because it's within reach. You don't need a multi-million-dollar inheritance or a Silicon Valley IPO. You just need to start right here, right now, by making small but firm choices about how you allocate your resources. And if you feel stuck, consider this your permission slip to change. No matter your current situation, whether you're deep in student loans, struggling with credit card debt, or simply feeling behind, remember that many of these millionaires started from less than ideal conditions. The key was consistent action, unwavering focus, and a refusal to believe that they were powerless. So, what can you do today to break free from old habits? Maybe it's as simple as putting a few more dollars into a savings or brokerage account. Maybe it's tackling your highest interest debt with a vengeance. Or perhaps it's scheduling a meeting with a tax professional to see if you're missing easy wins. Each move is a step forward in your personal treasure hunt. With each step, you'll hear the rustle of leaves parting, revealing a bit more sunlight. Here's the exhilarating twist. Once you get a taste of progress, you'll want more. It's like discovering a secret waterfall in the jungle. It's refreshing, uplifting, and it compels you to keep exploring. Because after a few months of disciplined spending and smart investing, you start seeing your account balances inch upward. You'll taste a form of pride that no flashy purchase can replicate. You'll realize you're building something that lasts, something that can withstand economic storms and personal misfortunes. And that, my friend, is a thrilling feeling. Now let's lock in the takeaway. This whole journey is about building a life that reflects your true values, not anyone else's. Instead of worrying about impressing the world, focus on inspiring yourself. That's what Stanley and Danko discovered when they profiled these low-key millionaires. Their wealth wasn't a showpiece. It was a shield, offering both security and opportunity. Think of it like forging your own sword, steady and balanced. You can hang it proudly on the wall or use it when you need it most. But either way, it's yours, made from the metal of discipline, foresight, and practical choices. We're almost at the end of this ride, and I want you to keep the momentum going. You've learned that it's possible to accumulate real net worth without earning a massive salary, simply by directing your money thoughtfully and consistently. You've seen how turning finances into a bit of a game can keep you motivated. You understand that investments tend to work best when they're approached as long-term vehicles, not lottery tickets. And hopefully, you feel that flicker of excitement about applying these concepts, no matter your current starting line. You and I have scaled some pretty challenging cliffs in our journey so far. We've stepped over pitfalls, navigated side trails, and gathered a fair number of treasures. Now, in these last 5 seconds, I want you to hold on to one crucial realization. You have the power, right this moment, to shape your financial destiny with a small, determined move. And finally, in the next 5 seconds, I invite you to take a leap into our next chapter. Click on the next video, Secrets from the Millionaire Next Door Part 2, where we'll explore social lessons, family insights, and the deeper cultural magic these everyday millionaires harness. If you're hungry for more, trust me, you won't want to miss it. Let's keep this momentum going. See you there.